Audio.
A quick thanks before we start the show. Filmmaking Confidential, the book, is getting rave reviews from readers, filmmakers, film professors, and even people in creative fields other than filmmaking. I just want to say thank you to all of you who ordered it and for your support. If you haven't yet picked it up and you want to learn more filmmaking secrets, Filmmaking Confidential is for you. It's available wherever books are sold in most countries around the world. Order it by visiting Audible or Amazon. To find out more, check out filmmakingconfidential.com and stevebalderson.com. And thank you. I'm Steve Balderson, and you're listening to the Filmmaking Confidential podcast. Each week, we meet with filmmakers, writers, actors, artists, and other notables. Many episodes include questions or commentary from other filmmakers listening to the conversation. Today's guest is Marek Probosz, a leading film, television, and stage star in his native Poland. When we sat down together, we started with some philosophies of life.
You know, there is this great philosophy in Japan that you always try to grow to get to being a master in whatever you do, right? But once you reach that point that you are a master, you should leave this place. Go to the unknown territory, somewhere where nobody ever heard about you, under different names sometimes, and reinvent your life, your new chapter in life, and start a new craft, not the thing you were doing in the other place, but something completely different. Different place, almost like different life. And then again, you build your craft, you get to the top. Once you get there, you vanish, you disappear again. And you keep going like this until you die. And somebody would say, oh, what an idiot. He had it all. Why would he leave? He was on top, right? Well, the answer of the wise man is that you do this to live several lives within one lifetime. And that's the growth. You know, that's how you always trying to do the best, always trying to take responsibility for your actions and just master your flaws and get better and better and better, like you are doing through your book, you know, about this confidential filmmaking that you sometimes, you totally take me by surprise, because I'm not good with marketing myself, for example. You know, I'm opposite. I'm stuck in just that. I'm doing many things, but I'm stuck with promoting myself. You know, I come from the Eastern Bloc, where propaganda was the one which was promoting. PR was propaganda. The system was promoting itself. It was false, like Hollywood sign. Everybody think it's Pantheon, and it's just, you know, a little bit of the wood on the with some holes in it, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
and some spotlights on it at night, but it's bullshit. There's nothing behind it. So we were in a way taught not to promote ourselves. In the Eastern Bloc, it was opposite. So whatever we said, it was truth. I mean, if I would tell you, I'll see you in 2 years somewhere, I'll be there. That's how we were taught. We were taught to tell the truth, and your word was something to be respected. Because we know that the rest, the militia, not police, but militia we had in the communist regime, it was false. The government was false. Everything was bad and corrupted and PR'd. That they were saying they did something, they are somebody, which they were not. So that was a perfect PR for them. But the other people, the nation was, of course, living in their, you know, solitude and poverty, but with dignity and a lot of education, because education was for free. So people were extremely educated in Eastern Bloc, and once they emigrated, well, they were taken to all the universities. You have, you know, Polish professors all over the world. I mean, wherever you go, engineers and doctors and chemists and artists and all kinds of people, you know.
Yeah.
So interesting that when I read that you do all of that you explain, and you're absolutely right. I mean, for example, I didn't promote my feature film. I won festival. The first screening, I won the festival, the audience award. So you would think, oh my God, now you go, right? Then I went to another film festival and That was in Europe. And I lost my job at Emerson College because instead of teaching, I was like, hey, I made a movie. I have to go with the film. Sorry, guys, I have to go. So, of course, somebody took my position at Emerson College. But I came to this second film festival. And the second film festival is a story to be written down because they called me the day of the gala, the day of giving awards to the movies. And I was in that foreign section, the movies made outside of Poland, right? But by Polish filmmakers or artists. There was the Polonica section. And the lady is calling me saying, Mr. Probosz, I have good news for you. Get dressed, you are receiving an award, you won. So I'm very excited, how it is. I mean, we make movies not for awards, but it's fun to get them, right? It's nice that somebody just pays attention to what you were trying to say. So I got dressed, got ready for the occasion. And then, man, I'm about to leave the door and I get another phone call. And the same lady is calling. And she's saying, I'm so sorry, Mr. Probosz. I said, what do you mean you're so sorry? And she says, well, we just talked to the producers of another film from your section. And the sponsor for their movie was the Gazprom, which means that they distribute gas, all over Europe. And they put money on his film. And they said that actually, if he wins, they may promote, some Polish cinema again and So we'll somehow try to accommodate you, but the guy needs to get that award.
Oh, that's terrible.
Can you imagine? I mean, this is the whole festival BS stuff, right? So it's great to promote. And so after that experience, as a matter of fact, I didn't promote my film anymore. I just came home, lost the job at Emerson because of this. And then I got some gig as an actor and I went to do that in Europe. And my producer found a distributor and they took the movie. We got Vanguard Pictures to distribute our film. And that's it. That's as far as I went promoting, or PRing my movie. Yeah. So when I read about you, I'm really impressed the way you can do it and the way you understood that that's the way to do it. Because otherwise there are so many crooks and vampires and parasites who are just trying to suck your blood for your own money that you as an artist are scrapping and trying to invest every penny on the screen, right? And they use it the way they as you wrote in your book, that's they use it for the best hotels and first class flight and other stuff, and you pay for it without knowing it, right? And you don't control them at all. So it sucks. So to be independent, of course, is a forbidden zone to be independent in our industry. So we have to fight for our lost horizon, and you are fighting for it. So I do appreciate that. Probably you can teach me something there and I'll teach you something else, right? That's how it works, that we share.
Totally. Yeah. Well, I have a question about, so you were very famous in Poland.
Yes.
And would you say that when you left Poland to come here, you were starting over, or was the evolution just at a different place?
No, I was completely starting all over. I didn't speak the language. I wouldn't be able to even go to West Germany because when I left Poland, that was working visa I got, working passport to go from Poland, Eastern Bloc, to the Western country, which was Hamburg. In my case, I went on location to shoot in Hamburg because the German film shot some locations, exteriors in Poland. So it was a slight co-production. So the Polish government felt obliged to give me passport to go to the Western country and to finish the movie, finish my shooting. And over there, so otherwise I wouldn't be able to go. I wouldn't get the passport to go to the West. They wouldn't give it to me, period. You couldn't travel. You were stuck in the Eastern Bloc. So I was really doing extremely well in Poland, Czechoslovakia, East Germany, but I couldn't go to the West. So once I got to the West, coincidence, we know that you have to work hard for the coincidence to happen, right? So here I am shooting the film, and we have a lunch break, and somebody's approaching me and says to me, hello, I'm Gary Essert. I'm the artistic director of American Cinematheque in Los Angeles, in Hollywood. And I'm having a panel for filmmakers in Los Angeles, 2 weeks panel. And we are meeting filmmakers from all over the world. I don't have anybody from Eastern Europe. And I know your pictures because one of my films that I did in Czechoslovakia, not Czech Republic like today, because that was Czech and Slovak Republic together at that time. Like the West Germany and East Germany was separate. Now it's together. So he says, I've seen your film, which got award at Cannes Film Festival. That was a Czech film. And I played the German Nazi in it. Very good role and film, really excellent film. Also won the Karlovy Vary Film Festival. And then he says, I've seen another picture that you did with Frantisek, Vlácil, which is when there was 100th anniversary of cinema around the world. In Czechoslovakia, now Czech Republic, Vlácil's film won the best picture ever made. So no Miloš Forman, not Menzel and many other great Czech filmmakers, but Frantisek Vlácil. And I was lucky to play lead part in his picture, which won award at San Sebastian Film Festival and many other festivals. So he's seen my films, that Gary Essert, right? And he says, I would love you to come. I said, are you kidding? How can I come to America? I couldn't come to Hamburg, to West Germany. Now America is totally, it's a dream. It's impossible. He said, well, it might be possible because it's official, invitation, and we pay for everything, including, he even said, we even pay for dentists. He said, we even covered that angle, that the insurance even covered the dentist. But it was a joke, but that's what he said. And he said, so you go just to consulate, in Hamburg, and you should get your visa for 2 weeks. And I said, well, would you come? I said, yeah, I can come for 2 weeks, of course, no problem, if they give me visa. So I went to the consulate. Next day, I see this guy approaching me through the window. There's a tiny little hole on the bottom, and he says, yes, what is this? And I tell him, and he says, can I see your passport? I give him the passport. He checks it, and he says, I'm sorry, you won't get visa to the United States. I said, how come? He said, well, the answer is no. And he left like that. So I came to the hotel, and Gary Essert called me and said, so do you have your visa? I said, no, I didn't get it. He said, this is impossible. How come? I mean, this is official. Everything is legal. I mean, they have to give it to you. For 2 weeks. Marek, please, I'll be calling people. I'll be talking to them. Go tomorrow. There's some kind of a misunderstanding. You have to get it. So after shooting the next day, I went again. The same thing, the same guy approaching me, the same story. No visa for you. I said, no, the answer is no. So again, the same thing. I get the phone call from Gary, and Gary's telling me, and I'm already upset a little bit because I was twice there, wasted my time. And I knew I won't be getting it. For me, it was obvious I'm not going to get visa to United States. But Gary is apologizing and saying, please go one more time. And I'm calling right now to the consul. I'll be talking to the consul, American consul. So he did call, and he called me back sometime later. And he says, I spoke with the consul. He says he is going to see you personally, and he's going to talk to you personally. And it might work. So please go one more time. 3 times makes a charm, right? So go. I was like, okay, I'll go one more time. And so I went. And I see the same guy approaching me. And I say, I'm not talking to you. I want to talk to the consul. And he just smirks at me and says, I am the consul. So I say, so what's the story? And he says, listen, we have to swear on the Constitution once we go to the world as consuls of the United States, right? And we swore that we won't do something we don't believe in. It can be legal, but we know it won't work. So, for example, I know you will never come back to your country after you leave to Hollywood. You are too young, too talented, of course, because they invite you, right? So there is a reason why wouldn't they pay otherwise? Too handsome. You'll never come back to Poland. And I know this. And I swore to the Constitution that if I know something like this, I'm not gonna just give you a stamp and, hey, go. Because I know you'll never come back. I said, bullshit. I'm booked for 2 years in advance with movies in Czechoslovakia and theater, and I'm directing opera, I'm doing this. He said, hold it. You won't come back. And that's why I cannot give you visa. So I started to argue with him a little bit more. I felt like Dustin Hoffman in the last scene of The Graduate. Adrien, just hitting that glass there. And he says, listen, before you break the glass, come to my office, because I promised Gary that once we talk about it, I'm going to take you to my office and have a coffee with you, and you can explain everything to me. And he said, and if you are such a good actor, maybe you make me believe that I'm wrong and you are right. So we went to his office. He asked his secretary to make a good coffee for us. And he said, go, convince me that you will come back. So, man, I have no idea what my one actor show was and how long did it last. But I drank the coffee, and he said, if you succeed, you'll see that big pink tongue of mine. And he stuck out his tongue. With that saliva, I'm going to lick your visa. Because visas were big like postcards these days. It wasn't a stamp. It was, you had to put a lot of saliva to glue them there. It wasn't that easy. So at a certain point of my monologue, I saw his tongue with a lot of saliva on it, and he was licking something, and that was my visa. And he signed it saying only 3 weeks in Hollywood, signed it on the visa with his own hand and golden Parker that he used for that. And he congratulated me, and he said, maybe I'm a fool, but you convinced me. So, man, and that's how I arrived to United States.
That's such a great story.
It wasn't easy, as you can see. It was very hard. And sometimes I question myself today, and I say, what the hell? Why would I? And of course, then that story with the Japanese masters come to me, because they would leave the pinnacle and come to the land where they are nobody. I landed here for 3 weeks. I was somebody. I lived in the Roosevelt Hotel on Hollywood Boulevard, Avenue of the Stars, around, and Chinese theater across. And David Hockney painted the pool where I was staying. So it was basically swimming in the painting through the paint of David Hockney, in that pool every day, because the offices of American Cinematheque at that time were in the Roosevelt Hotel. And, that's where they had their offices. Now they have Egyptian theater and Aerial Theater here in Santa Monica. But before it was in the Roosevelt Hotel. So it was absolutely crazy. I had translator because my English was very bad. They were taking us to studios. I've seen studios for the first time. I met with filmmakers, actors. We had panels. We had, everything was all inclusive, you could say today, everything was there. For the first time, I was in a limo. They took me in a limo, It was absolutely insane dream. But within this dream, there was a surprise, the big surprise. Friend of mine who was a filmmaker, we studied together at the Polish Film School in Łódź, prestigious Polish film school where all the greatest Polish filmmakers, they graduated from there. And he was studying film directing over there, and I was studying acting over there at the same time. Victor is his name. And Victor came to visit me to Roosevelt Hotel, and he said to me, so what's the plan? What are you going to do? He was already in the United States. He just deflected, to United States, made it to America, and he was working as the sound editor here for Sun Deluxe company at that time. And I said, well, I have like 1 more week, and I'm going back to Poland, right? Because I had 3 weeks visa. And he says, and where are you going to go? Back to everything you already accomplished? to all the spotlights and new scripts and new girls and new money. And you've been there, you've done that. What's new? Where's your growth? You are going to repeat yourself again, over and over again. You are swimming there with fish. Here you'll swim with sharks. He said, at least you'll die fighting sharks. He said, come over here. Go to the fucking desert and see what happens. Try to cross it. Jump into the ocean. Try to swim through. Swim to the moon. Swim to the sun. Try to reach it. And it felt a little bit like the temptation of Christ, when he said that, because we were standing on the roof of Roosevelt Hotel, looking down at Hollywood when he was telling me all of this. I didn't know anybody. And he said, you know what? How about this? You write with me a script. I'm the director. I'm working as the sound editor because I have to earn money. So I earn money, good money, but time is money in America. So I have money. I don't have time. How about if we join our forces? That I'm going to pay you. I'm going to give you roof over your head. He lived in the very beautiful apartment on Fuller in Hollywood. And he said, I have a big apartment. One wing is yours. You'll be writing, we'll be talking. I'm going to work. I come back, we talk, we develop a project. You play the lead part, I'm directing, we co-wrote it.
Cool.
I said, cool, that's great. So you ready to stay? I said, yeah. So I decided to stay. One-way ticket, because I'm telling you, my English was really bad. So I had to start all over again. And I remember I went to improve my English. I went to UCLA, where I'm the adjunct professor there since 2005 now. But at that time, of course, I was just a stranger in the strange land. So I took the advanced course of English at UCLA. And after one of the classes, I waited for the professor to step outside, and I approached him and I said, I have this big problem. I have this big dilemma. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. Should I go back? Should I stay? I am here and I feel like staying, but I feel also like talking to somebody who's not my friend, who is just a stranger like yourself, and helping me to communicate and learn the language. And he said, wait, okay. So where are you from? He asked me a few questions. And then he said, okay, so that's okay. I get it. He said, so what's the most important thing in life for you? He said. And I said, well, freedom and love. And he said, don't worry about love. You'll find that. You're young, handsome, talented. You'll learn English. You'll find love. Don't worry about that topic. He said, but do you have freedom in your country? No matter how successful you are, do you have freedom there? I said, no. He said, you spoke. Face the truth. And I said, yeah, the truth is the third most important thing in my life. So I'm staying. That's it. That was the moment of my decision. And I remember that when I came back, no matter what, that was one-way ticket. If I never be acting or teaching or writing or directing, which happened or later, or having a family like I'm having now, decision was made. I was not coming back. That's it. That was done deal, one-way ticket. And it was tough, my friend, because I was used to certain splendor and all the doors were opening. And as I say, I communicate, and every girl was asking for autograph, and I would be saying, you come at 9, you come at 12, and, etc. Because I was playing the lead part in the musical for 2,000 people every night. And I was starring in the musical and lead parts in movies, and directed already and taught for 1 year in the Polish theater academy in Poland, in Warsaw. So it was hitting the wall, man, hitting the wall. And that was a weeping wall because my English was so bad. So I would walk through Hollywood Boulevard, I remember, and there was remember newsstands we used to have on the streets, newsstands with the newspapers.
Yes.
We don't have them anymore. Damn it. And that was wonderful because there were cafes, and people would go with the cafe and they would take French paper or English or Swedish or Polish or Russian or German. It was fabulous. You took the paper and you were looking through the pages. And so I remember going through that Hollywood newsstand, and I see myself on the cover of the film magazine from Poland. I gave big interview before I left, and I was on the cover. And here I am in Hollywood, right? And I'm on the cover, and inside is a big interview with me. And I'm in the land where nobody knows who I am. I'm a hero from zero. I have to start all over again.
Actor Marek Probosz. Another great guest is Academy Award nominee and Golden Globe winner Sally Kirkland.
My girlfriend had told me, Sally, you're going to have to fuck him. You're going to have to. This is the lead role in The Godfather. And I said, but I've been celibate for however many months I can. I'm celibate. And she said, Sally, this is Francis Ford Coppola. You're going to have to fuck him.
You can hear my full interview with Sally at filmmakingconfidential.com or by subscribing for free to this podcast. When we come back, Marek talks about the vibration of genius and what it means to have a truth of the universe. I'm Steve Balderson, and you're listening to the Filmmaking Confidential podcast. Stay with us. I'm Steve Balderson, and I'm back with Marek Probosz.
There's a certain beaming vibration, light, energy that if it's there, and you cannot deny it. It's there or it's not there. You can work your ass off very hard to get somewhere, and you'll be probably doing amazing progress to get there. But if that touch of genius is not there, it's not there. And we know it. I mean, you know it, I know it. We are in it. We've seen it, right? We talk to all kinds of people. We work with all kinds of people, and we've seen it too. And I discovered my passion for art, for acting first. When I was 6 years old, I was already on stage. I was playing a jester, and I have a feeling that once I put that costume of jester on, it stayed on me, till today that I'm the jester. And I keep going and keep fighting for the good joke or the truth, even if it's a royal court, and just stick it to their faces through cinema, through writing, through teaching.
I heard you in an interview say that your method is the method of truth, not necessarily any one acting way of, the process that different teachers taught their methods of acting. Can you explain to me a little bit about what is that for you, the truth?
Yes, I believe that everyone should get into process of thinking, developing themselves intellectually, but we also have to develop ourselves spiritually. And once we get into that alchemical process, trying to find in the regular rock or the sand, melting it, adding some ingredients to it and increasing fire. And we try to find where the truth, where the gold or the diamond or where that gold is. The gold is the truth, of course. It's a pure light. That's why the painters in the old ages were painting on gold, not because of the price of gold, but because of that light, that they believe that through light you go on the other side. And I strongly believe that we should read all the philosophy, which is, let's say, all the methods, acting methods, right? But at a certain point, you have to say, enough. Life is too short. You cannot keep reading and reading and reading because you'll get to following. You have to say, stop. No more. It's time to develop your own philosophy, to develop your own method. And what is the method? The method is truth. If a truth is universal, if you look at the beautiful flower, you can tell me it's ugly, I don't believe you. If you say that this beautiful flower doesn't have any scent, and I put my nose there and it does, I say you are a liar. So the truth is there. When you see a newborn child and you are present at the delivery, you cry, and you cannot explain why. You just keep crying from happiness because you are witnessing a miracle of birth. And if the truth is birthed, in front of the camera or on stage, we call it movie magic, because the truth does something to us that we get goosebumps and we cry and some liquid is pouring down our nose and we don't even notice it, or we squeeze the lady to the right, the man to the left. We don't even know we are squeezing them. That's the beauty of our art, because our art is the closest thing to the revelation of praying. I treat art as a form of prayer. I'm channeling energy which is coming from above. I don't know from where. I don't care anymore. If it's there, it's there. And I channel. When I performed, there was 100th anniversary of the Polish independence 2 years ago. And I went to Broadway, to the largest one-actor festival in the world. Competitors from 6 continents, 130 shows. Festival is for 2 months, and they show about 5 shows a day to show them all to the public, critics, etc. When I worked on my one-actor show, which is a 60 minutes monologue, in which I'm playing different characters, of course, the executioners, the victims, and the heroes, the anti-heroes, all kinds of characters. But the story is about an amazing hero. When I went there and I knew, and I actually demanded from the organizers that they give me a slot in the schedule on that Sunday at 7 p.m. because it's the 100th anniversary of Poland, of Polish independence. And they agreed. So what do you do for the truth to explode on stage that night? Not in the morning, not day before, not day after. No, that night at 7, it needs to explode. Well, this is alchemy, because you need to transform yourself and psych yourself up to the extent that when the curtain goes up, you blind the audience with the light that you possess within you. And that's the truth. That's the flow of truth, because this is like falling asleep. You don't remember what happened. You just woke up. You felt and you woke up. And that's the show. It's the start and the end. In between is a trance. You are on the stake and you are burning with truth. The light is shining through you, through every word, gesture. Every gesture means something, is projecting something. The gaze, I kill somebody in that show with the syringe with phenol that the Germans used in the concentration camp. I had 3 shows 3 times. I basically killed the person, not physically that I didn't touch them, but the intent with that syringe it's an imaginary syringe. I don't have it in my hand, but I'm doing the whole thing. And the person I picked from the audience to hit the syringe into the heart, for some time, there was a scream. People were screaming in the audience, and that person was down, like she or he received the shot to their heart, and then the critic wrote about it that basically I killed 3 people in 3 shows because those people were the intent, the truth of the moment, which is, of course, the audience buys the ticket and is dressed for the occasion, and there's suspense of disbelief. We know it's a show, but for you, it's not. For somebody who's performing, it's not. That's why you make them believe. You went through the metamorphoses. Franz Joseph Kafka, when he's writing his Metamorphoses, and one day he woke up and he's just a worm. And his family is saying, hey, where's Joseph? Oh, he's not here. And he's under the bed, he's a worm. And they don't recognize him because he somehow turned into the worm. Well, that's what happens to the true genius, musician, painter, dancer, writer, actor, director, when we work and we are on the top of our game, I'm not Marek Probosz when I'm performing. I transform myself into the character. I'm Witold Pilecki, in that case on Broadway. And no wonder I won the best documentary show from the 130. And I'm not cocky about it because I knew what I've done to be there and to project that power, that flow of energy. And I remember my wife, who was there after the show, I was exhausted in the dressing room, and she came to me and she said, "You were genius, perfect." And I said, "I know." And it's not about me being cocky. No, not at all. It was about being truthful to what just happened.
Yeah.
I was just projecting. It wasn't me. It was that channeling man, channeling the truth. And I think that there's a certain decalogue of principles to be able to channel the truth. And you point out some of those elements in your book. And every actor has his own method, his own way to get there. And I have my own. I remember I had Annette Bening came to my class, 2 classes at UCLA when I was teaching the graduates, and she had later a master class with them or something, and she wanted to see that class. So she came to the class and she was watching me working with them. And then we had a little talk with Annette, and some of my students were asking her, so how do you do this to get there? And she said, if that would be so easy to answer, I would give it to you. But what I would tell you, it would backfire for you, because this is not what you need. This art is individual, and you need to find your own truth, which is only true for you, not for him, for her, for me, no. And when you listen to the violin quartet of Beethoven, 14th, let's say, you listen and you get lost. If you close your eyes, you don't know where you are taken with this music, but you are taken there somewhere. And now when you think, where was Beethoven when he was doing this, right? Where was he going, or where was he coming from? Clearly, he was channeling this ingenious tune, and he shared it with us through the notes that he wrote down, and now we can listen to it. And I think it's the same with acting or directing. There's a rhythm, there's a presence, there's a sound, there's an image, there's even a scent of your performance. We sweat, of course, and sometimes, as we know, there are smelly people when they sweat, and there are people who are like saints. They are smelling flowers, the most beautiful scent. So it also, there was this experiment with the Japanese scientist who was photographing water with a huge micro lenses. He was photographing water which was exposed to Hitler's speech. And he photographed that water, and the water turned into most ugly shapes and colors. And then he photographed the same water with the same lens, exposing it to Mozart's music. And it was taking the most beautiful shapes and most beautiful colors.
Interesting.
It's a scientific fact. I've seen that. You can find it later and see it for yourself. He was doing it to speeches, to heavy metal music. It was just the water was in total despair, the most ugly. You wouldn't want to touch it, not talking about drinking. And when you played the Beethoven or Bach, it was the most beautiful shapes, almost dancing forms and colors. So where do you want to go? When you go to the theater, do you want to go to hell? You can, of course, that is through hell to heaven, right? That's why Dante's Divine Comedy has it all, hell, purgatory, and heaven. It's not that easy. Just heaven doesn't exist. Just hell doesn't exist. I don't know if I answered to your question, but more.
No, you did. You did. You did exactly. And in fact, you articulated it so much better than I do. When I try to explain it, I say, especially the part about acknowledging the work that you do, When I have done really well at doing directing a movie or whatever it is, I know it's good, but it's not, I didn't do it, but it came through me to do it. So if the energy's there and the images are there and the stories are there and they're coming through my body and I'm translating them,
yes.
Using my language, which would be different than anybody else's. When it's true for me, when I know that I am being true to whatever source it is,
yes,
I know it, I recognize it. And I also know when I haven't been in the past.
It's the same with lying. It's the same with lying or telling the truth. Even if you tell the best lie, if it's a lie, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same with art. That I always tell my students, guys, you have two options: either to imitate or to create your own. And when you create, you can get lost, you can hurt yourself, you might start to stutter and do all kinds of, you may trip, but this is your wound. This is, you owned that time. And you will remember that. And as a result, you'll grow. The new cells in your body, in your brain, in your heart, you enlarged your heart because you created something. It's bad your stuff, but it's your stuff. It's yours. It's yours. Nobody can take it away from you. And the beauty of art, any art, is that it's somebody's. It's so unique, so individualistic that nobody else can do it. Somebody else can only imitate it, but not create it. You are the creator. And to be the creator is the biggest right on this planet.
A listener named David asked about the difference between making a film in the studio system or making it independently.
It's very tough. We have great film directors who took some studio projects thinking that they can keep their independence. I'm talking Gus Van Sant, I'm talking David Lynch, they had their studio experience, and it was a total flop because they lost what was the most valuable, what we loved the most about them, their stamp, their character of writing, of telling the story of the vision. The vision was castrated, right? And when you see, let's say, Woody Allen being castrated, it's not fun. When you see Fellini being castrated, it's not fun. If you see Tarkovsky being castrated or Orson Welles being castrated or Hitchcock being castrated, it's not fun. It's fun when they have their balls to tell us and show us the way they see the world. Psycho was refused by the studios after successes of Hitchcock and the body of work he had and how commercial he was, basically with almost every picture, once better, once worse, but always with money we're getting back. Psycho, they said no. So he invested his own money. And he almost went bankrupt until the moment when it was released. And that was the most successful film because he made something he believed in. And everybody was against him except himself. And you have to listen to yourself. And of course, with the studio behind you, it's so hard. That's why I like what Steve is proposing, because he's proposing independent. And as I mentioned to Steve in the beginning, it's almost like a forbidden zone to be independent today, even though they say, hey, you have toys, you can do it. But then you find out somebody needs to market it. Somebody needs 10%, another person 15%, another person 25%, and then whatever. And suddenly you find out, wait a minute, where am I? I'm again nowhere. So it's better to go to the trenches and to have the skeleton crew and to be yourself, to make your film. And with the platforms that we have today, you can really talk to other people. We didn't know each other just few minutes ago. Now we know each other, right? We can do that. We can share our work, our experiences, our wisdom with others and our art with others today through new platforms. We should totally use that. We should start being more and more and more independent, because the government and the studio system is killing us. I'm talking about creativity, creative process. We are becoming the system instead of becoming individuals who are not afraid to speak their truth, voice their opinion, through art or through something else.
Filmmaker, professor, and actor, Marek Probosz. Tune in next time for more Filmmaking Confidential. It is totally free to subscribe, and when you subscribe, you'll get upcoming new episodes automatically, and you'll have free access to all our past shows. Please remember to rate and review. The Filmmaking Confidential podcast is a production of Dekanga Audio and produced by myself and Ella Spencer. Our theme music is composed by Kevin Robles. For more of the Filmmaking Confidential podcast, head over to filmmakingconfidential.com. If you have a question about filmmaking you'd like answered on the podcast, send me an email using the contact form on the website. To learn more of my filmmaking secrets, be sure to pick up a copy of the book, Filmmaking Confidential, available on Audible, paperback, and ebook, wherever books are sold. I'm Steve Balderson. Thanks for listening and spreading the word. Until next time, keep making, keep doing, keep going.